Hey, what's up, y'all? Been getting lots of questions about some weird stuff in the cornfield, specifically around multiple ears. So let's jump in here and try to find a few examples and walk through what's going on. Now, most everybody knows that on these standard corn plants, there's one primary ear. And how many ears a corn plant sits and tries to develop is controlled by hormone levels inside the plant that focuses its energy and resources into producing a big, healthy ear. And so, as we see on these plants, we've got the primary ear, but the corn has a backup plan that if this primary ear is damaged or eaten or destroyed, there are ear shanks in the leaves below as a backup plan. So if we pull this leaf back, there we see another ear shank ready to go just in case it's necessary. And there's another one down there. Now, when times are good, sometimes these plants like to show off and they go ahead and start developing a secondary ear. Now, it takes terrific growing conditions for these secondary ears, here's a primary secondary, to amount to much. One thing that corn does very well is redirects resources into these primary ears to make sure it makes grain. So if the growing season goes from good to lean and it needs resources to finish filling out these primary ears, it will actually reabsorb these secondary ears and move those nutrients into the primary ear to make sure it makes grain. Now, sometimes things get a little weird. So let's look at a couple scenarios where things don't quite look the way they should. Here at the edge of the plot, we find a couple real good examples of some weird stuff. This has got plenty of sunlight, plenty of resources. It's out here at the end of the plot where there's a lot of traffic. And as we look closer at these plants, we got the primary ear, we got the secondary ear, and then we got this weird looking ear here that's coming out of the shank of the primary ear. This is what we call blossom ears, and sometimes you can have 2 or 3 of these all coming out around the shank, and we'll show you how that works in a minute. Nelson will call these mess ears, which is multiple ears from a single shank, M-E-S-S, mess. Now, we don't know exactly what causes blossom ear, because physiologically, this primary ear should be controlling the hormone levels in the plant to tell it to stop producing ears. But some stress level, some disruption within the plant motivated the plant to put on, or try to put on, yet another ear right here off the shank. There's some hypothesis about plants that like high density and competition and high populations, that when they are out here on the end and they don't have that stress and that intensity from neighboring plants from high populations, that causes a disruption, which causes secondary ear. There's a couple different theories out, but no one really knows why the hormone levels generated by this primary ear does not prevent the development of this secondary ear. So again, that's what we commonly refer to as blossom ear. And we'll go over and dissect these a little bit and show you where these generate from. So here we've got a corn plant, and we've dissected a little bit. Here are the nodes, the internodes, node, internode, node, internode. As we see, this is our primary ear attached at the node by the ear shank. Our secondary ear, because of outstanding growing conditions, attached at the node. And as we stripped off the leaves and go back, there's another auxiliary ear shank, another auxiliary ear shank, and another one at each node, just in case these don't happen to work out. Now, the likelihood of these ever producing an ear is slim because of pollination timing, but the corn plant always has plan A, B, and C in place in case it needs it. Now, this is the bouquet ear that we've stripped down. And just like on the stalk, we've got internodes, node, internode, node. And on each of those nodes, there was a leaf attached, or what we would call a husk, around that ear. Just like on the stalk, we've got internode, node, there'll be a leaf around that, internode, node, where the leaf was attached. Same thing here, we just call them husk instead of leaves. And as you can see, this little ear here originated at a node behind the leaf or the husk. Now, the presence of this primary ear should have been enough to tell the corn plant quit producing ears. This is the one we're betting the farm on. But for whatever reason that we don't quite explain, a stress level or a disruption in hormone levels in this plant caused this extra ear to sprout out at the node on the ear shank, and that's what gives us those blossom ears. The other thing that this lovely plant has going on is our wonderful tassel ears. And people always wonder how corn plants get messed up and create tassel ears. The truth of the matter is, that's not a stalk of corn. You know, it sure looks like a stalk of corn. But if we travel all the way down here to the bottom, we see that it's a sucker. This is our primary stalk of corn that has the ear on it right here. This is a sucker on this side. These are suckers on this side. And the suckers have tassel ears on them, like these guys here. So if this primary stalk was destroyed by frost or deer or something, and all we had left was these suckers, it would look like the primary stalk of corn that got very confused about its identity and put on a tassel ear, when in fact they're just suckers. So out here at the end of the plot, where there's a lot of traffic, a lot of sunlight, a lot of resources, a lot of times we can find these anomalies. So my hat's off to these wonderful little plants that gave us a great example of suckers with tassel ears, a great example of blossom ears or mess ears, multiple ears per single shank, and also primary and secondary ears of corn. So that was a quick rundown of some of the weird ear settings that we see on corn plants this time of year. They're typically just at the edge of the field where we got plenty of sunlight and moisture and not a lot of competition. They really don't mean anything as far as performance, just a neat talking point, a curiosity. So I hope that made sense to you. If you have any other questions, feel free to leave them in the chat. See you soon. Be safe.